public workshop is to review the changes in chapter 38 and vote. And Bailey stated that this needs to be completed tonight and need to vote to set up a public hearing for August 8th. So,
August 8th?
yeah, August 8th.
No, August, next meeting, August 10th.
August
2
8th.
days ago.
Okay, so first real change is gonna be on page 3807. The first part it's, do we agree on removing what's crossed out in red and replacing it
Oh,
with?
what'd you say, what, sorry? You said 38 or so. Okay.
So the select board voted to remove that big section there. And then the attorney recommended what's in yellow. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, you'll see that throughout. On pages that I did not mark as like important, we changed all pronouns to they, just to remove. They wanted to change them to he/her and him or whatever, and I just did that.
So it's 15 days.
Well, they want to take out that the planning board, if they have a waiting list, push it off.
In 10 days.
Well, Billy, how do you feel about going from 35 to 10? I mean, is it stuff that, I mean, is it, the other one is,
That's actually not unreasonable. We try to get people an answer within 2 weeks on if their application is complete or not, and if it's not complete, what they need to complete it. So the 10 days, if they don't have a complete application, the 10 days is only to tell them if it's complete or not to give them
Okay.
either way.
that seems fair.
Everybody okay with what's on there?
Yep.
I'm skipping the days, theirs. So I think the table is next. All right,
So there's 3812 that you mentioned to me earlier.
but it's the same wording.
Right, I just wanted to point out why the Board of Selectmen had moved it in the first place. I thought there was a misunderstanding there about administration. That are saying that people can appeal a denial or an approval of a permit. But this is there are other types of administration besides approving or denying or making a determination on an application. That's why the attorney has to do that.
All right, 3820. Daycare centers, the selectmen wanted to say,
We said no originally.
yes, and they wanted to take out no and do.
It's commercial.
So I think it's, from what I'm reading here, it's no. Or it's no and then conditional use permit in the village.
That was based on the comprehensive plan definition of the districts. That it would be back to no for residential and remain conditional use in the village.
Where's village?
The zoning map.
No, no.
Wes, you got a zoning map in the back of your.
Oh, do I have one in here?
You might not. I just put it in that one today.
So why is, so there's no daycare centers allowed in residential areas?
Because daycare center, this was a big conversation. Daycare center is a commercial facility. And daycare, there's the separation of daycare center and daycare home, which daycare home is allowed pretty much everywhere.
So looking at where the village is, I'm still at no.
I'm at no too.
Just look at the comprehensive.
So this
plan.
is the plat, whatever is the village.
And you're saying no in that area?
No in these areas.
And why is that?
It's it's a commercial facility.
I see.
It's
And
not
that's
just,
not
it's not,
commercial
it's
zone.
not, you know, the one woman taking care of 6 kids anymore. This is hiring employees. having-
This is a facility, not an in-home business, it's a facility.
So it really cuts down on the amount of space for a center.
Yes, but that's due to our zoning, that needs to change.
Yeah.
Let me get a motion and then a second, and then we can discuss further.
I'll make a
We
motion.
don't need motions in the workshop. We do a motion in the meeting for everything that happens in here,
Oh, the next meeting?
in the meeting to follow.
Yeah, okay, so.
Is there anybody looking to do a daycare center?
More specifically right now,
No?
Utilities for essential services.
so I'm just looking at the comprehensive plan, trying to find anything specific to village. They mentioned village in both commercial and residential land use.
But don't you think they should have a conditional use permit? Are they required to have a conditional use permit anyways, whether it's?
In
commercial?
the allowable, you mean specifically for daycare centers?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the places where it's allowable, you can see on there are shown as conditional use permit.
So you guys are saying no in the residential area, is that what you're saying?
Well, I think the attorney and us both say no. And in the village, the
The
attorney
village.
thinks it should be a conditional use permit, but we've said no all along.
I think part of the reasoning was that village is defined in both residential and commercial in the comprehensive plan. And the current downtown commercial and commercial zones, there isn't much available for space. And it is a daycare center, though a commercial facility would be consistent with village. You can look at places like Little Mountain School is in the village zone. Rainbow Mountain School or Rainbow School is technically in the village zone. So,
We're in Rainbow School. Little
Mary
Mountain School is
Sue's.
in a home, so that's,
No,
No,
that's
Little
the
Mountain School
church.
is at the
Mary Sue's
church.
is the Rainbow School.
Mary Sue's is the Rainbow School?
yes,
That's in-
But that's an at-home business with no employees,
right, but
which is different than what we're, right? Because that would fall under a daycare home.
What's Little Mountain School? Where's
That,
that?
they have employees.
Little Mountain School is
Mountain School.
actually considered
But they have
a
a
school.
That's at the church,
Yes,
but it's a school.
Right, but it's in the village.
Yeah.
It
So
should
you guys
be.
are saying not to have same.
So is
period,
that,
and
that's
this is-
considered different
yeah, it's
than
a
the daycare?
Conditional use permit.
Well, we're not taking
Yes.
anybody's conditional use permit.
but it is a similar use to a
Right,
daycare
it's
center.
across there.
See, right below daycare center is daycare home. And that's allowed in every place except for industrial.
When the difference is, there's no employees.
There could still be employees in a daycare home. The difference is the number of children.
What is the number of children in a center?
So, we'll see later that we changed this definition, but currently state law is a daycare home is 3 to 12 children, and a daycare center is 13 or more children.
13 or more.
Yes.
Okay.
I would probably stay with what we have. For now. Because 13 up to, you know,
You have 13 more, you're gonna have 2 or 3 employees, for sure. In a bigger building and.
And the home and the daycare home is currently allowed in village, correct?
Yes,
Yes.
But in
With the
this draft,
condition.
yes.
Right.
With a conditional use permit. Yeah, I'm good with that.
Alright, so we wanna return to no for village.
So going down utilities, it says utilities or essential services. For village and for downtown, it was the CEO. Huh?
Yeah, CEO, that's what it is.
Where are you looking?
Utilities and essential services.
Uh,
Why did they switch it from CEO to planning board?
Actually, that might have actually been my suggestion to them because village and downtown commercial both have water frontage lots. And resource protection and shoreline, which have water frontage lots, are planning board.
Get that.
I agree with that.
Huh?
I agree with that.
I think that, honestly, I think that came from chapter 1000, which is very big, which is the shoreline zoning regulations, because there's water frontage in those zones. Planning board has to be the one to look at utilities and essential services.
What would be, why did you put CEO on all of them?
Something that she should be able to.
She should.
Yeah.
What about the next one? Or the next
Well, you
one?
can't change that chapter 38 because of 3.3.
Right.
I understand what you're saying, but. I mean, if it's your recommendation, Bailey, then I have to respect that. Anybody else? No? So essentials, let me ask this, because I know we had this discussion. Utilities are essential services. Where does solar and windmill? Is that
That's where it falls into currently. Remember when we first started, or when I first started working on chapter 38, we had discussed adding alternative energy row by itself, and then determined that it was going to be so intensive to actually look at those things. We needed code specific to that, which is actually what the ordinance committee is currently working on. It hasn't been decided if that would be recommended to come into chapter 38. Most likely it will be its own separate chapter of the town code because it is going to be quite a bit, and chapter 38 is already long.
Okay, so with what things are going on, I would like to see us put something in place to where you can't have huge solar farms in a residential district or a woodland district or these huge cell towers.
I think at this point, because we had discussed it as it being a separate code, it wouldn't be responsible to put it back in now. In discussing it with the town attorney, she felt that it was smarter to go the way of making a separate chapter for that, because there are so many different types and different sizes. And just putting a line in here was creating problems with loopholes anyway. So with this, they all fall under utilities or essential services, which have now some type of review process, where the current adopted code does not have any review process for utilities or essential services.
So there's a separate chapter for solar farms, wind farms, all that.
It's in, yeah,
Yeah.
it's in
So-
process.
So currently, to protect us, should we change this utilities to planning board? For all the districts?
just to protect.
I mean, even if we do that, we don't have anything in the code that prohibits specific things. But having the review process there, we can at least determine if something is a commercial entity of utilities or essential services, and not just someone putting solar panels on their house.
They don't even need to permit if they're putting solar panels on their house.
Currently, no, but with this, they would. By putting the review process of planning board or code enforcement officer, they would need some type of permit.
So do you guys want to put it planning board across the board?
I think we should.
I mean, I understand commercial and industrial, I don't think we should have to, but
Are you just talking utilities or essential services?
I think it's a little bit of insurance. We just get rid of all the green.
I will say some of the green was from me doing some deeper research on the question.
But which ones are those? We get rid of the rest of them?
so what do you guys think?
I just think it's cheap insurance. I mean, maybe I'm just thinking worst case scenario, but
And it would take it out of
if we were on Main Street, and looked up. If we were on Main Street, looked out towards Spotted Mountain, we saw a solar field and we didn't have any say over it, we'd feel pretty dumb.
Yeah.
I would.
Well, if you're gonna deal with it in village and downtown commercial, why aren't you gonna deal with the rest?
you guys want to switch them all to planning board except for commercial and industrial?
If it's not too big of a deal, I would like to skip that, whatever you guys think.
Because,
So just to be clear, that's in Woodland residential or 17 overlay, section planning board.
Woodland residential, and yes, yep, all the rest of them, commercial and industrial, that's.
Right, it's not.
All right, so then moving on, central services, PDA non-roadside or cross-country distribution lines involving 10 poles or less in a shoreline area.
Okay, so that row and the next row, I had suggested just putting no because they're irrelevant in those zones because they're talking about shoreline area. The Chinese switched it to not applicable instead of no.
Are we okay with that? Alright. Moving down to other essential services, which is what? That's where the discussion was.
So we've had a legal opinion that alternative energy sources are classified under utilities or essential services. Other essential services are not, they don't fall into that. So it's kind of vague what other is, but we can at least say that alternative energy does fall into that.
So what is other essential services? Does anybody know?
I don't think we really have a definition for that.
So should we just take it out
Or should we write in
or just do planning board?
alternative energy? Instead of other essential services, we'll write in alternative energy.
The other essential services is a direct line, a direct row that came from chapter 1000. Which is the state.
So there's no definition on it. So I would say switch them to planning board until there is a, because you never know what somebody might bring.
I agree.
So it's a woodland residential like we did in the other ones?
Yeah. Everybody okay with that? Okay, event center, shoreland.
use. So these, there was a board opinion that there are current event centers in some of these districts, which the attorney did not feel was a strong enough argument to allow for in those districts, which are the ones that reverted back to no. Though she did still feel that shoreland and Route 17 overlay could host an event center.
Could what?
Could have an event center.
And switch.
So Woodland residential and industrial, the board of selectmen had changed to conditional use. And on the town attorney opinion, we returned those back to no.
I'm okay with that.
And then, but shoreland and Route 17 overlay now have conditional use for that.
Everybody agree with that?
Mhm.
Yep. Moving over to page 3821. Industrial light. We have no in Woodland, and it was switched to conditional use. And why was that?
October and November, so I'm only rusty on the reasons why. I'm sorry.
I guess it's because of harvesting. Right? Or is that-
Honestly, I think that was part of it. And again, when we went over this with the town attorney recently, she checked all these against the comprehensive plan and how they describe the districts.
So are you guys okay with switching in Woodland to conditional use?
Is there a definition for industrial light in Woodland other
Yes.
than?
No, there's a definition for light industrial use. Light industrial, the use of building or structure for the purposes of manufacturing, processing, fabrication, assembly, treatment, packaging, and incidental storage of goods and materials, provided that all activities are conducted within a wholly enclosed building, and that the operations do not involve any furnaces or machinery that emit noxious fumes or gases, discharge dirt, dust, or particle matter into the air, or result in noise or vibration. See also definition for heavy industrial use.
Okay, so then it would be a no, because that explanation, if it's for harvesting, you're not in any kind of structure, so. Welcome, Mr. Felder.
So you're saying no, so I guess industrial light. Like, so manufacturing is in industrial light, right? What if I want to start a canoe company in the Woodlands? I can't.
No, you could do it by yourself as an Apple business.
I got you, but no employees.
You can have a certain number of employees within a home occupation. I think it's
I think it's only
just like one or two
maybe.
new employees that
Well,
live
you
outside
you
of the
and
home.
one, I think, you and one other person. Outside.
Did you say
Outside.
making canoes or renting?
Making canoes, I'm thinking of the old,
I mean, that is a
The
fair
old
point, and it does
furniture
have a conditional use
Oh.
review process.
that
so.
technically can't be run again now, right? Am I right? The old furniture shop.
Winco,
Lamco. So
Right, well,
technically,
that's it, because, well, that's in the,
depends on where it lands.
it's in the residential zone. I don't understand that because it used to have a conditional use permit.
that's what I'm saying, now it's saying it's residential, no, so that could never be opened again.
Yeah, but it comes with the conditional use permit, so good.
I think they're timed out, aren't they, conditional use permits?
Not necessarily. If you lapse the use for 2 years,
Then they're timed out.
yeah. But if there's continued use, then no. If it's a conditional use that's grandfathered, which that would be.
You gotta turn the condos.
So right now, the only light industrial is downtown commercial, commercial, industrial. With industrial zone, this,
By the airport.
it's funny that most of that property is owned by one person.
We talked to them about these.
Houses in the
I
industrial.
guess it's not.
There's one house and it's on the corner.
I'm just saying that is all owned by primarily the same group of people, right? This I, the purple, am I right? I just think it limits our light industrial.
So that's where we have to do a change in zoning.
Yeah, the zoning needs to be expanded. It's
Okay, so-
terrible.
That's, all right, so we have an opportunity to change.
Well, no,
Not here.
we can't change the zoning, somebody else changes the zoning, but it has to be expanded.
Yeah.
And you look at like downtown Boston, there is no place to put another commercial facility in Boston, like, it is done.
Right.
So either someone would have to come forward with a project that would force them to get the zoning changed, or the whole zoning of the town would have to.
So it is possible if somebody came to us and said, I want to build canoes.
Well,
and
It's an extensive
Wait.
process.
They reduced the commercial zoning 20 years ago. Where my house is, used to be commercial zone, and now it's residential. They made it smaller like 20, 25 years ago.
Anyway, potential for zoning to be changed for the idea of the
Okay.
project.
Right.
All right, so we're all good at saying no?
Mhm.
Okay, going down to institutional. I'm not looking at the definition.
Institutional would be a live-in facility,
A what?
a live-in facility. So like assisted living, things like that.
I don't know why we had it known.
All right, I'm good with the change.
Mhm.
Everybody else?
Yes.
Okay, lodging house. Yeah, I'm good with that change too. Modular housing.
So that was just changing it from manufactured to modular because there could be confusion on manufactured being on a chassis and not on a chassis.
Gotcha. Okay, going down, mineral exploration, no on shoreline.
That comes from chapter 1000.
Yeah, I'm in agreement. Mobile home. We had CEO, then it was no, then it's back to CEO.
Yes, and we need to add one or two more districts that allow it based on state law.
So,
So we can have a discussion about what districts we could allow that. I
I mean, we
mean,
don't have very many options.
right,
Uh,
Yep.
Industrial and woodland is the only.
Well, we're not talking about a modular home is a stick built in.
a mobile home is on a chassis, permanent chassis.
and we have to allow
We have to allow it in multiple places, yes, by state law.
them. So the woodland, put it in industrial.
You
And-
can't put it in industrial, we don't allow single family homes in industrial. And I will
Put
note,
on-
if you are worried about like you're thinking of parents as far as where to allow it, we can't, that's part of the state law, we can't restrict based on that. But we also have in this version, it's on page 3857, we have design requirements for mobile homes anyway. So they have to, there needs to be a foundation, they can't have, I think we have on here that they have to cover around the bottom, so.
Okay.
Right, we can come back.
So the only other place would be residential.
Yeah,
Well, if we gotta allow it in 3 places though.
No, she said 2 to 3.
What you said, 2 to 3?
We need at least one other district. It would be preferred to have 2 more.
let's do residential.
Put it on the shoreline.
I mean, you might
You'll
as well,
never have
there's no
one.
property there.
For residential,
Route 17 overlay, another possibility.
That's mine.
Okay.
Well, it should be there.
It's,
Put it up by the airport.
it's allowed in every district except for industrial, it just has to be approved by the code enforcement officer. Oh, no,
Mobile home.
mobile home, sorry. Wrong line,
I see residential.
let's switch it to residential, CEO.
Well, you gotta pick 2 more. You said it.
I
said
say
at
pick
least
1
2.
and see if we
At least 2 total. At least 2 total, preferably 3 total
Okay,
districts.
can. So 2, at least 2. We have
At
2.
least 2.
We have 2.
And if you want to change it, say it.
Three's fine with me. Where are we gonna pick? What's the one we're picking? What lands and what?
Residential.
Commercial?
Residential is a long option.
Commercial's all taken up, right? So it never happened.
You don't want trailers popping up everywhere.
But they have to meet.
But they have to be
standards.
certain. Put it in the shoreline. Always have that for this year.
The standards aren't super
Property.
specific to appearance.
To what?
The standards aren't super specific to the appearance, it's just that they have to be on a foundation. Someone can't just like leave it on the wheels at all.
So they have to be on a foundation, like a frost wall. or something. But it can't be on slabs, that's what most of them are on anyway.
It's a foundation.
I know, that's what I'm saying. So a slab, they can back it in the wheels and put a skirt around it, it's on a slab.
Right, but if the state required us to do it anyways,
We have to have it in these 2 places.
Why am I putting the commercial though? That's what I'm saying.
All right. I'm good with commercial.
just because we know we'll never
I
have.
will also point out that commercial is directly on the scenic byway, where residential does push it away from the scenic byway.
Not really, residential is all the way from Washington Street.
Yes, but commercial is only on the scenic byway.
I think that's.
What is resource protection?
You can't put a house in resource protection.
I see we got 2. That's right.
So we're doing commercial or residential?
You guys see. I really honestly.
Village, village.
Village is away from the scenic byway.
But there's no village law.
Not very many. There's a few still out there.
So you want to do village?
Okay.
Moving on to,
So no resident.
so do we have to allow a mobile home park?
Yes.
Are you kidding me?
See, now we're forced into that residential.
You're forced. So we're staying with Woodland and Village as we're going with?
Why can't we zone it so that, yes, we allow mobile homes, but they're only allowed in the parks, and then we decide where the parks go?
We can't do that.
Why is that
State law.
taking those people?
Yes.
So we all agree with the best place is Woodland?
In Village?
For.
No, for the mobile home park.
Yeah, that one's fine to just be in our district. We're okay with that, just being in one.
Motel, hotel, no, change it to no. in Woodland.
So there's no
Keep
more
it as
hotels,
no.
and no more motels.
Oh, keep it as no.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna keep it as no, so we don't have to go on it. All right, moving on to page 3825. So secondary dwelling, you only have 400 square feet. I thought it was, limit was
At
steps.
least.
At least. I thought it was at least 600.
For the principal.
No, I didn't know that. I thought all had to be 600.
So how's this gonna play into the ADU covenant that takes effect next spring? What's the minimum square footage on those, do you know?
I
400?
don't off the top of my head.
I think they go to 400.
Well, the state's already adopted that, hasn't it?
Yeah, but it doesn't take effect until April 1st of next year.
I don't know I honestly.
And it is 2 units on each property, as long as they meet all the requirements. They still have to meet the setbacks, they still have everything. So it's basically like building another house on your property, if it meets their septic.
I think
well.
the ADUs have a maximum size, so.
Yeah,
So
I think it might be 400.
we just need to do that.
Yeah, I think it's good right there.
All right, moving on to 38, 33.
This was, so the red that was crossed out, that was direct words from chapter. 100,000, I don't know. And we just change it to be relevant to what our districts.
So we're just adding lighting of state municipal or other monuments.
We're replacing that, what's there with what's highlighted. It's better legal language. The lumens also changed, that came from the dark skies committee. And we just better define fully shielded.
So what's 1,800 lumens? It's an example.
Part of the church.
Yeah, I'm
So
looking at it.
that's less. I think that was kind
From the elected.
I don't know. It's the intensity of the light.
Well, I understand that, but give me an example.
I can't give you an example. Google it. I
Well,
don't
not
know.
to hire you, whoever's watching this. No. All right, you guys with that change, are you guys okay with those two changes?
I think less is better than more.
Yeah.
What's that, 115 degrees?
It's just like that,
So that,
they're
yeah.
the same ones that are on front of the fire station.
So you guys okay with that?
yes.
All right, moving on. For lots, page 3855.
Okay, this, I will make point that the residential in Woodland with these changes allows for multifamily structures on a lot that's smaller than the minimum lot size in the Woodland district. So we need to make them match one way or the other.
You have to make them match.
So tell us what they should be.
So, back on page 3823, the minimum, the dimensional requirements, the minimum lot area in the Woodland district is 80,000 square feet, where by lessening the minimum square footage for a lot for multifamily, it shows in red residential and Woodland. The numbers make sense for residential, but it poses an issue with Woodland, so. Honestly, I would recommend just removing Woodland from that title and adding a
Is Woodland, I don't see. where
I don't
Woodland's
see
in.
where it says.
Oh,
.4
.4.
in the residential and Woodland districts.
yeah, remove Woodland from there.
And we could just add a note that Woodland has to meet the dimensional, the normal
Oh, I'm looking at-
dimensional requirements.
Yeah.
So the .3, that's fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just the 0.4, okay.
Yeah, that's got
Point
public
three,
water,
I
so-
also want to make note that downtown commercial is not mentioned in this. I recommend adding downtown commercial to village and commercial.
Okay, so page 38, 5.3, downtown.
Yeah, question,
You have a question?
you got a question?
I do. Oh, yes, Steve, sorry, I'm ready.
And if it's inappropriate for me to ask questions, just tell
No, it's a public
I will,
workshop.
it's probably
me.
workshop.
Okay, in this particular section, Bailey and I had a conversation about population density downtown. And where you're looking at, Bailey, is this the spot where it refers to how many we can, how many residential units can be built? All right. Could you just maybe, because I thought we came to an agreement on how we should increase that ability in the downtown.
Yes, we have those numbers in there. It just is, it says in the village and commercial district with those numbers that we discussed. You just need to make sure it's also specifies downtown commercial.
All right,
Because right now downtown commercial is just like in the lieu, you'd have to assume what district it was part of.
all right. How does that come in line with what the state has done for all of these different units that you can now build? And does that come sort of like in alignment with what their recommendations were due to, was it 2003 legislation act that just passed, what, 6 weeks ago, 8 weeks ago? You know what I'm saying?
I don't, Steve.
You know what I'm talking about, because
The
we talked,
ADUs.
The ADUs.
We're talking about the ADU units, right?
yeah,
Yes.
how does that come in line with that, or is it
Well,
close?
the ADU unit is only applicable when it's a second place, so this is for 3 or more.
So are you
Oh, I know what
referencing
you're
your
saying.
property on Main Street?
Well, I'm not only thinking about that, I'm thinking about a number of the locations that have, I mean, I was accosted pretty severely by Mr. Morgat at a meeting that we should be providing green space in the downtown district. Well, we provide a town park. And I think we need to maximize our ability to build in terms of population density in the village district. I'm not talking about, taking neighborhoods or up where Noel lives and other places like that and pack them in tight as rats there. I think downtown is a different vision, particularly when you look at Main Street when they're 6 feet apart. And you go just a little bit farther up the street, and right now it says you gotta have a front yard and driving space. I mean, is this addressing this, what I'm curious about?
So that 10,000 square feet is a quarter of an acre, right?
Yeah.
So for the first structure.
This provides
3 units,
more space
it's
to build.
3,500.
This is,
Yeah,
they're
this
looking at
provides,
exactly what we had discussed in those workshops.
Yes.
Okay, I trust you.
because we're reducing the required
Yeah.
size
Yeah.
by
Yeah.
over half.
All right, it's going from 40,000 to 20,000.
No, it's going from
Go from 20,000.
20,000 to 10,000.
Well.
We're looking up in village.
Oh, you're looking at the village one, okay.
And then the 7,500 reduces to 3,500.
After the first.
Yeah, so
three.
you will be able to build more.
But I don't,
From 40 to 20, Noel, is that what it says?
that's one
That's
down.
for the residential woodhouse.
Yeah.
I was on the wrong. but
He's a
20
bit-
to 10.
He's a paragraph down.
Right.
We just looked at the wrong one.
So in village is going from 20 to 10.
All right, thank you.
Is everybody okay with that? I made the notes to take out, okay.
I just wrote, and we'll add a 0.5, and then the current 0.5 will just shift to 0.6 and so on. Multifamily development in the Woodland District shall meet the dimensional requirements as written in section 38.6.7, which is the 80,000 square feet. Is everyone
Sorry,
okay with
what?
that?
In the woodland?
In the Woodland,
Yeah, so that's,
Oh, so, okay, I see what you're saying.
that's 2 acres, right?
yes.
So you're gonna add a section 0.6, but move that minimum shore frontage down.
Well, there's a 0.6 after the 0.5, so it'll be
Oh, there is.
0.5, 0.6.7.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right.
That's good.
All right, number 6 is added. It's any lot containing more than one multifamily dwelling structure must meet a setback of 10 feet between each structure.
I discussed that with fire chief. And that's where we got the 10-foot number based on, in downtown commercial, on 2 different properties, buildings can be 10 feet apart.
Okey-dokey.
So are the resources for the fire department, if we do, say, every available lot in the village was to put 2 more units in, or 3 units? What's that do to our infrastructure for fire rescue?
I cannot answer that question.
Can we pump enough water to put out 3 buildings on Mr. Philbrick's property?
You'd have to call in other trucks.
I can speak to that because I just talked with the fire department today about what I want to speak to you this evening about, and their capacity is significant.
So there's enough.
So the answer to that is yes. And incidentally, they're structured to go up 110 feet tall. So our level of 30, what's the height?
35.
35 feet is way below their capacity, their ability to fight a structure fire.
And we've discussed that in a previous meeting, talking about a house behind a house, that they'd be able to reach it from the road using a ladder truck.
All right. So everybody good with adding that 0.6?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, moving on to 3857. Mobile home parks. So this is all being
adding it
added.
back.
Adding it back?
Adding it back, the board of selectmen had removed it because they had put it as no in the
Oh,
land use
okay.
table.
Right, so
The state's telling them they have to.
Are they telling us we have to have a mobile home park? Or
Yes, we have
just-
to allow mobile home parks.
is there anything in there you want to change, Lee?
So are they still gonna meet our minimum lot size?
No, they have a different minimum lot size.
So the minimum with the public sewer is 4,000 square feet.
Yes.
With 12,000 square feet, so a little over a quarter acre. So they require half an acre for a unit if it has its own septic and well.
Yes.
Is there a maximum units that can go in one area? Can we
There's
change,
a,
can we change any of this?
we have actually made it more stringent than the state already.
With this,
Yes.
because their front setback is 10 feet. Rear
Of
is
the
50.
individual lots.
Yeah, the side setback is 10 feet. That's a mobile home park.
Can we add a limit to the park?
I don't know. I would hesitate to say yes. I want to ask for a legal opinion on that one. The park itself has to have setbacks. So the park property lines have to be set back from neighboring properties.
And that
And it
setback
has,
is,
and we have the open space requirements within it as well.
what's the setback from the property line?
25 feet, except where it's a resident, where it abuts residential use, it's
Okay.
50 feet.
Do you guys wanna, you could look at putting a maximum and having her find out if that's okay?
I would think we could try. I think we should try. I think we should try.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I don't want, I mean, I'm not saying we probably don't need it for housing, I'm just saying you own
You don't-
10,000
you don't-
acres, what's the limit? Because there's people that we know that could afford to do that.
What is a reasonable limit?
Do we wanna put a limit in terms of size or in terms of number of
Number of
lots?
I think number of units is the bigger thing to me,
Well, so let's do
per
this.
square footage.
So let's think about resources. Our school, how many more kids can we put in our school?
All right, so here's the thing.
Those are the questions that would be looked at in the review
I
process.
understand, and I understand we don't
It
want.
attracts the wrong type of people.
Okay, but we have to allow it by state.
So make it as small as possible.
10 units,
I highly doubt we can restrict it that much.
20.
Again,
So what I'm saying
20 is
is,
a lot.
if we're forced to do this, okay?
What defines a park? Is it 3 or more? Make it 3. I am, but
No, I understand, I get what you're saying, but,
You're
so,
gonna attract the wrong type of people.
but if we're forced into this, okay?
that's why the state law.
So if the state comes to us and says, okay, you have to have a mobile home park, and we limit it to 25, and they say, well, why did you limit it to 25? We can say, well, the average house has 2 children, there's 50 kids, we can only accept 50 children in our
I
school.
am questioning if we're allowed to do that within the code, or if that's something that can be part of the conditional use permit process for the mobile home park itself.
Okay, so the definition of mobile home park is 3 or more mobile homes.
Okay.
All right, so limit it to 3. Done.
There's no way that we can do that.
It says it right there. Why can't
There,
we? We can do it if we want, make the rules.
You have to play devil's advocate.
Yes,
If you limit it to 3 west, your intent is to not have it.
which is
The
against.
state, however, has already said that you have to address it in your ordinance.
But we are, we're allowing it, just.
All right, so if you say,
Maximum.
what I'm getting at, let me finish. What I'm getting at is this. If you say 3 and you made that as part of your ordinance, and a developer that's represented by him who's gonna build it, comes in and says 7 is the only way to financially make it work, and if you push me up one of the state, it's gonna cost you. So what I'm suggesting to you is that you say 3 currently, and use your vocabulary so you can expand to alleviate the future lawsuit that may come from it. May not, but you met your needs then, and you stay out of court.
And it may never come, it may never come.
so what if we say, change it from 3 to 10, or 3 to 20?
Yeah, but you met the need, oh, I'm sorry, Madam Chair. You've met the needs now, though, according to what that state legislature says. And that was the discussion that the selectmen had about this when they were trying to figure out what to do with that nonsense as well. I constantly look at legalities, and I'm not a lawyer, I just hate being in court. You all know that.
Yeah.
It sucks.
All right, so you guys want to change it from 3 to a specific number?
Where are we saying, changing 3 where?
In the mobile home park definition.
I don't think we can change the definition, we might be able to put something within the code here, but the definition comes from,
It's state.
yeah.
Okay, so let's add something.
I guess I'm not opposed to limiting it to 3 until somebody's standing there with a lawyer, and then we decide that.
I don't see how they could overrule us when we have it in our code.
Right.
It's something that the townspeople can vote on anyways.
Oh, really?
This has to be voted on.
So on number 1, it says review requirements, all known expansions of mobile home parks are subject to subdivision approval. Can we put something in between number 1 and number 2? Or,
I would suggest putting it, be a new number 4 and shifting the following down after the minimum lot size and density, or before that. So either a new .3 or a new .4 and then shift everything after. Instead of adding it to a current line, have it.
so let's do a new .3.
Okay.
So,
Can we make requirements such as for every, so if there's 100,000 square feet covered by dwellings, can there be a requirement that there's 100,000 square feet that's common land, undeveloped?
We have the open space. I think that would be considered there. We could increase the open space requirement.
Yeah, because, so
So increase
it's
that.
10%.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's 10% of the combined area. Can we change that to 50%?
I'll have to double check on both of these with legal.
So if you have a 10-acre mobile home park, 5 of it has to be common space.
We can put that in as a possibility and I can check with legal and we can revisit it at the public hearing.
yeah, no,
I don't know what to do. I kind of agree with Wes that, I mean, I don't necessarily want them, but
Right, but I mean, just doing that alone right there dictate, you're gonna cut it in half if you can put in there, just by
Yeah.
doing a simple thing like that. And if we put in that other wording about meeting the requirement of 3 and then.
right, so here's my thing on a lot of this is, it's actually a lot of it is that those people that are buying those mobile homes or renting to buy those mobile homes aren't the people that are doing the developing. The people that are doing the developing are doing it for one reason, and that's to make money. So if they're coming to our town to make money, then there should be pay-to-play basis, in a sense. If you want to develop 20 acres of land, that's fine, but you're gonna give your tenants some normalcy by giving them the feeling that they're not living in the projects. My biggest fear with affordable housing is that the kids go to school and say, where do you live? And, oh, I live in the mobile home park, and then that kid gets picked on, you know? It's just always kind of been a pet peeve of mine. I don't want anybody to feel like they come from someplace that other people look down on. And that's why I'm not a big fan of mobile home parks. I'd rather do an affordable housing situation where they're spread out throughout the community. Not necessarily the mobile homes, but you know what I mean? So if we can make it harder for the developer, not harder for the residents, because obviously they aren't the people that are doing it, but harder for the developer. Because those are the ones that are profiting.
so what specifically are you suggesting we change it to?
I'd say I'm okay with limiting it to 3 until somebody comes along and challenges us on it. And I think if you wrote in that 10% is just, that's almost a joke. 50% of the combined area of all individual lots shall be revised for playgrounds and other recreational facilities and open space. What's wrong with that?
Nothing.
You can do it, but you're gonna make it nice.
I can put these numbers in tentatively and legal can tell us if there's a minimum for the lot number and a maximum for
Okay,
the open space.
perfect.
Sorry it
Just-
takes so long.
No, that's
No.
why we're
That's a good point. I just want to read off the full sentence that I put in there for the maximum. The maximum number of lots, a mobile home park may not exceed, I wrote that very badly. May not exceed 3 lots while meeting the minimum lot size and density requirements.
And just change that number 10% to 50.
Yeah.
And number 6.
1.6.
Sorry, Madam Chair.
I apologize, that's why we're here. Change to 50. All right. Moving on to This is an old correction. Page 3865.
So perpetual will not be there. It opens loopholes of people saying, well, I put it away for 2 days of the week. It's not perpetual, so we're taking that out. And we're exempting farm stands because you can't really have a farm stand without having your goods for sale on display.
I'm good.
But that doesn't include like the window, like a window on Main Street, is that?
Well, that would be a business. This is for home
I
occupations.
get, okay, sorry.
Okay, the signs, everything that's crossed out.
Can be revisited at a later date. We're just going back to what's in the current adopted code
Okay,
to minimize the
Right, so this is
The amount of
this
changes.
is what we already have, the stuff that's in green.
The stuff that's in green is what's in the current adopted code, yes.
okay. And I don't recall us changing, well, no, we did change. We changed the illuminated signs.
So you're saying you want to add a change back into that?
Well, didn't we change, our change in here?
No, so the green is what's in the current adopted code. The red was what our changes were from previous meetings. We're pulling that back and signs can be worked on separately at a later date. The size of and amount of changes to chapter 38 has been a pretty constant concern with members of the public and the Board of Selectmen. So this just puts it back to what's there right now, and it can be revisited at a later date as its own edits to chapter 38.
I understand what you're saying, but I wanna go back to where, how come I'm not finding it? Am I blind?
What are you looking for?
The illuminated signs.
On page 3879, illuminated signs shall be lighted from sources that are shielded from streets or adjoining property with no exposed source of illumination. The intensity of light shall remain constant in color, location, and brightness. That's what we currently have.
But didn't we take them out?
Yes. We took out internally illuminated signs. We specified internally illuminated and externally
We
illuminated.
did.
And removed internally illuminated. But with this kind of makes the point that it would be externally illuminated. And there was to a further note, there was a sign application put in for an internally illuminated electronic message board that was denied, appealed, and the Board of Appeals upheld it based on the current code, upheld the denial. So I just want to stop find the one that they used. It was not the illuminated signs that they used as a reason. So on the next page, 3880.13, the light from an externally illuminated sign shall be so arranged that no direct rays of light from spotlights or floodlights are projected from the external source onto adjoining properties or streets. It kind of works in that situation in that the electronic message is a screen, and the screen is the source of light. So the source of light would be pointed directly at the street.
Yeah, it specifically says externally.
So can we change on page 3879, number 3, externally illuminated sign shall be lit from sources? Can we do that?
You just want to add externally to that.
Number point 3 on page 3879. Instead of have it illuminated, specify externally.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Where are you gonna put it, right?
Just point 3, so it'd say externally instead of just illuminated.
Unfortunately.
find it?
Yep.
You got it?
Oh, and in point 4 at the end, internally eliminated are prohibited. You read through that whole section. So
Where? Eliminated.
The next one down, point
the next one down, point 4.
The bottom of 4.
Right. Yes, Steve?
Not to pick on any business, but point of clarification, Portage Tap House. There's a sign, there's a metal cutout with backlighting that illuminates the exterior of it. Is that going to be illegal in the future?
No, that's external.
It's
not
yeah, it's externally illuminated.
Lit from the back, but it's external. It's not facing the road. Shine backwards.
Yeah, no disagreement with your definition. I'm just curious whether or not it would be considered internal because it's behind it.
No. Internal is like a message board or those old like gas station things that lit up from the inside. That would be
Like the-
internal.
So the Citgo sign and the whatever what's the one down here that corner where they have the skidoo?
Yep, those would be.
That's not going to be permissible.
Exactly.
It's already not permissible.
Yeah.
Technically.
All right, so we're okay with that change? Yes? Okay. All right, moving on. 3885.
This is just to allow for if the state changes those numbers, we don't have to vote to change the code to match.
Oh, I got it. Good with that. Like an event center, adding primarily or routinely, like,
Yeah, it specified people were, there was concern in some of the workshops with the board of selectmen that it would prevent someone from using their house for a wedding.
yeah,
So this is just to eliminate that.
so on 3891, are we adding for lot of record or not adding it?
Not added.
Okay, so it's gonna be what it was.
Yes.
3893,
We removed service shop because it doesn't exist anywhere within the code.
and the definition of signs, that all that red's being taken out, that is
That was part of the new stuff that was added.
perfect, okay. All right. We all okay with what we discussed? It's on the agenda for the regular meeting too, so we can just make motions, discuss.
What about the rest of it? The mooring?
That's
That's different. We're only doing chapter 38.
When does the mooring thing come into play?
That has already is already at legal review to be put on. the warrant.
So we did that, we went over the mooring 2 years ago. I think probably 2 years ago, the planning board did the mooring ordinance and then sent it over to the ordinance committee.
I just put it in here because it's still technically active. If you wanted to look at it.
Oh, I looked at it, I don't very much of it at all.
All right, are we okay to close the public workshop? All right, close the public workshop at 6:10 and open the regularly scheduled meeting and start with the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we have a quorum. Any adjustments to the agenda?
No.
Public to speak on a non-agenda item. Steve?
Hi,
Hi.
I'd like to start with a recommendation for you considering chapter 38. After knowing what you went through with the last board and what you're probably going to be going through with future boards, my recommendation after giving this some serious thought is that you ask the Board of Selectmen to hold 4 special town meetings in the course of a month and a half, so that there is a period of time between each section. Because the lawyers recommended to them that this can't be broken up. Well, I suggested it can. And if you wait to do it all in one fell swoop, you're going to be faced with the same problems you've had in the past. My recommendation only. I know it's a little bit expensive, but I think it's more expensive not to get Chapter 38 solidified and move forward.
That's an agenda item. Do you have a
I don't
non-agenda
have the
item?
agenda. I'm sorry.
Yeah, do you have a non-agenda item?
I do. After going through a number of steps to get a building permit, with the help of Bailey, I want to ask you to schedule the next planning board meeting and open it with a public hearing for an application that she has helped me finish. We've gone through the Board of Appeals. They sent it back to the town. We've been at this since May 17th. And as you all know, times are wasted for getting a building done. I don't know how you want me to handle this tonight, but I'd be willing to leave all of this and let you review it. And I'll come back and answer questions individually, collectively, however you want to do it. But we can't wait another month for this. It's a permissible building, but it's in a conditional use zone. So it's up to you to approve or deny this expansion on the property at 3706 Main Street, which is now called Midtown. Started off as Parady's Landscaping. The hell was it back then? Parady's, right? Something like that. But it's been going on. That's been a commercial lot now for over 35 years of my looking into this thing. Questions?
So the only way that we can set up a public hearing is if Bailey pushes it to us and she's approved the application.
So I looked over the application with him today and told him the information that he needed to submit to the planning board. I've not done a full initial review on it because that was just this afternoon. I'd be comfortable allowing the board to determine if the application is complete or not.
We don't have the application copy of it. And what is it that he's needing?
When we discussed, he still needed to fill out a few more things on the building permit application. You can give that right to the chairman of the board.
Okay. You want all this in front of you? Okay. I got the Rebecca look. I'm familiar with that.
The things he still needed to complete when he left my office were the building permit application, material specifications, a foundation plan and a site plan, and the checklist that's on the conditional use permit application.
Which I have all of this for you. Here's
So
the
you
lot
have-
description, here's the conditional use, that's the building permit, this is the conditional use one. And I also have the site map here for you to pass around. This is from David Janney's survey. That's what the new locations. I apologize, it's not the scale because I've been working like this on this all day today, so. But this is the location, this is Route 4. My hand scratching, apologize up front, but no buildings with on the back of a dinner napkin.
How big is that building?
Excuse me, you'll see in the application here, the building is 92 by 82. This is the new addition here. This is the current buildings. And there's the 82 by 92. It exceeds on one level the height level, but the average is 33.5, which is below your 35-foot height elevation requirements in the ordinance as they stand today.
So, okay, so we'll discuss all of that in the public hearing. It's just the board has to decide whether we're gonna vote to see if the application is complete. So the required additional materials, there is not a write-up on the conditional use recommendations.
There's a current set of blueprints for the layout, the siding, everything right here, if you'd like to look at that. I recognize this is, unorthodox, but man, we've been going round and round. And
So there is a process, and the process should be followed, but it's not up just to me, it's up to the whole board. And I
Well,
mean,
but
if Bailey's comfortable, then
I'm comfortable giving it to you to determine if it's, if you feel it's complete, to schedule the public hearing for the next meeting.
you guys want.
And I can
schedule a
get-
public, oh, sorry.
So I'll get copies of that to you. I'll take this tonight, get copies, digital copies to you tomorrow, if you can get me digital copies of the plans, so. Because I have to go in and get those big plans onto my computer.
you want those?
When are
I need a
you,
smaller set.
Bailey,
Oh,
when do
no.
you require everybody to submit stuff prior to the meeting for it to go on the agenda?
Generally the Wednesday before.
So August 3rd.
Yes.
Yes.
All right. So if you guys want to vote to have a public hearing, we can put a condition that if all the required paperwork is submitted, as far as the fire chief, what's missing on the conditional use permit?
I don't think there's anything missing on that. Was that the question?
No, we need an explanation of all the conditions,
Let's
what's,
see it.
Good checklist.
Let's see it.
So is there any hazardous material stored in there?
I'm sorry.
Any hazardous material stored in there?
that was it.
The,
I must have.
So when Steve was in my office this afternoon, I looked at the IGC 2015 for the occupancy classification. And based on what those lists are, I determined that it would be business and storage one.
I handed
So
it
do
to
you
you.
have the,
Oh,
I handed it to you. Yes, there's the description.
I don't know, this is your.
Nope.
Yeah, that's the end.
One more page, right there. Nope.
No.
What? Oh, no. That answers all the questions that are applicable to this. And I'd be glad to respond to any of that if you would.
your last day. And when's our next meeting?
You guys are whispering, I can't understand a word you say.
So I asked Bailey what her last day of employment was as a CEO.
Oh, not relevant to this. I'm
No,
sorry.
not relevant, sidebar.
I'm sorry.
No, it is relevant, because she's been involved in this process, and if she's not gonna be here on the next one, then I wanna make sure that we have everything.
Oh, well, generally I have the agendas and packets for Friday before a meeting. This week was just
Yeah, that's fine,
We're not sure.
I'm not sure.
because we're gonna be dealing with another CEO at the next meeting, right?
if there's one higher, which I doubt.
I make a motion that we schedule that application.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All those in favor? So we need a motion to schedule a public hearing.
They-
Yeah, we don't have a date.
It would be the 10th, August 10th, is the next meeting.
I'll make a motion to schedule a public hearing for August 10th at 6 p.m.
You want to add if all the paperwork is submitted?
Right. If all the paperwork is submitted.
Do I have a second?
A second.
Any discussion?
All those in favor?
Aye.
There you go.
You don't know about that.
Yeah, so you need, I think Bailey has already told you, you need a letter from the fire chief.
I spoke to the fire chief today. He's happy to write a letter for that. Oh,
And the
what-
police.
Hmm?
And police,
Why?
because it's part of the conditional use. Statement from police department of ability to see traffic flow in and out of site.
So that goes through DOT and there was a permit pulled on that. I actually pulled a permit for DOT on that when I.
The driveway entrance, you mean?
Yes, yeah.
So,
But is this gonna increase traffic or no?
No.
That's up to them to determine and then have the police department. The police department can write a letter that it's not increasing the traffic.
Lee, if you don't mind, this is the way I looked at this thing, because, again, I don't do these every day. The size of proposed compared to surrounding uses, comparable. In terms of traffic, we're gonna minimize it, because there's two reasons for that.
Can
Number
I
one,
stop you? Can I stop you?
Hmm?
Can we discuss that in the public hearing?
You bet.
All right. Thank you.
No, thank you. Thank you very much.
All right.
Digital copies,
All right, review minutes.
Yeah, I'll take these in copies, but I need a digital copy to be able to get to them.
You betcha.
Because I have to read copies.
You make a motion
Can we make
for
it
the
here, or
minutes.
you want me to do it?
I don't have anything to copy this.
I'll do it. I'll get you copies.
Thank you.
All of these as well,
Yes.
one for each.
And they can be at a smaller size if you want. They
Can
can be
we-
11 by 17.
Sorry.
All right, so
Thank you,
Les made a
everyone.
motion. Have a good night. To accept the minutes, Noel did a second. Any discussion? All those in favor? All right. Any correspondence?
None.
Any new business?
None.
All right, continuing business, chapter 38. Motion to approve notes from public workshop.
I give you a motion on it.
Do I get a second?
Second,
Any discussion? All those in favor? Scheduled public hearing for August 8th.
yeah, that's what was confusing me. Is
For
it-
scheduling it, we scheduled it on an off day, because Board of Selectmen will be in attendance
What day is the eighth?
Monday.
I won't be there.
You can attend via Zoom.
Maybe.
So
It's more-
this is not a selectmen's meeting, this will be a planning board meeting.
So that was my proposed date. If you want to do a different date.
What's the latest date we can do? Or what's the,
There needs to be,
so there needs 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
the last date that the Board of Selectmen can hold a public hearing to declare a warrant is the 31st. They will need a meeting in between our public hearing and that public hearing to accept this to be a warrant article.
Okay, so can you do the 9th? It's a Tuesday?
Yeah, more day.
Because the next week is the selectmen meeting.
Right.
So
I
just
could
as long as
do-
it's that.
I could do the eighth if I could do Zoom.
Zoom will be available.
If I can Zoom in.
And
Either
I
eighth or
don't
ninth, I'm
anticipate-
zooming anyways. Regardless, I'm not here both days, so.
I don't anticipate a lot of discussion. Honestly,
So,
it'll be more that the things that we looked at tonight, they're just seeing those for the first time. Which is
Not a lot, really.
not a lot, yeah,
and you'll be here to answer questions because you were,
yes, I will be.
all right, so I need a motion to do it August 8th, 6 PM.
I make a motion, we have a meeting on August 8th at 6 p.m.
Second,
Any discussion? All those in favor? And then the special meeting following has nothing to do with this.
So that will be us, because you have to vote to send it to the Board of Selectmen.
Oh, shit, that's right, public hearing, oh, excuse me. Public hearings and. Okay.
We need a motion for that too.
So that could just be an amendment to that motion.
So I make an amendment to the prior motion that a special meeting to vote, immediate follow the public hearing on August 8th. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor? All right, next meeting, it will be August 8th. Public hearing, and then regular scheduled meeting August 10th. I need a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
A second. All those in favor?
August 8th, 6 o'clock too.
Yep.